Hi, hello everyone. I'm a tutor of UPlets. I'm here to teach about MongoDB, and this is a video by UPlets. So to know more about us, uh, you just you can see our website, which I have given in my presentation, and you can contact us to know more about us. So first we can see the what are the topics we are going to cover today. So here are the table of contents. So today we are going to see about introduction, what is MongoDB and why we need to use. So what are the difference between MongoDB and SQL, and how to install and configure the MongoDB on our local machine, and CRUD operations. So what are the advantages to use a MongoDB and data modeling? So basically, so before start to learn about MongoDB, we need to have at least 20 to 25 percentage of knowledge about SQL. So it should be good so that we can learn easily the MongoDB course. So it will be like we can able to easily understand the terms behind the MongoDB. So like MongoDB, so it is derived from the word humongous. So it is like humongous means huge and enormous. So that is the meaning of the word. So this is the only reason they derived, because it is like we can able to scale our data very fast, and we can able to store a large amount of data. So that is why the MongoDB is derived from the word humongous. So it has been developed on 2007 by the Newark-based company called Tengen, and so they have been started to develop this database during the development of Microsoft Azure as they have doing a platform as a service on Microsoft Azure. So, and then now the company has changed their name to a MongoDB Corporation from the Tengen. So initially they was focusing building on platform as a service, but in later 2009, so they have been make MongoDB as a open source to the market, and they have made they are maintaining the MongoDB in their organization itself. So this is some of the brief history, and this is what the first company who have used this database to store their newspaper images. So this is the first company, and they have developed and they have changed their name from Tengen to MongoDB, and now they are make a MongoDB to open source to the market, and they are now using by the organization itself. So the first version was released on 2010 for production, and later, so now we have a version up to 4.2, I think. So the stable version is like 2.4. So, and the MongoDB is like a cross platform. So the cross platform means you can install a MongoDB in any of the platform, like Windows, Linux, whatever platform you are using, it is open to all of the platform. So it is basically called as NoSQL. So if you know SQL, you may hear this word NoSQL. It is like not only SQL or non-structured query language. So basically the data here we stored in a form of a documents, and inside the document is going to be stored in a form of a JSON format. So JSON format is nothing but key value pairs. So, and it have been popularly used in financial sectors, government, retail. So in all of our real-time day-to-day life, so government and finance sectors or day-to-day life, they are using this MongoDB. And it has been companies like Google, Flipkart, Robert Bosch. So they are the major users of a MongoDB. So like we should know at least 20 to 25% of knowledge of SQL. So if you know that, you can easily grasp this course. So like in SQL, we may define database. So in MongoDB also, it is a database. In SQL, we may call tables. In MongoDB, we need to call as collections. So table, here we are using the term collection. And in SQL, we will use inside the table, we will have n number of rows. And in MongoDB, inside our collection, we will have n number of documents in the form of a JSON format or BSON. BSON is nothing but a binary form representation of a JSON. So, and inside the tables, we will have n number of columns, and in MongoDB, we will have in a field, and in that field, we will have key value pairs. So we can see in upcoming sessions, what is that field and what is key value pair and other stuffs. So we NoSQL database, we have 4 types. So column or row database, document database, graph database, and key value pair database. So we can see what are the popular NoSQL database we have. So one is Cassandra. So this is the first NoSQL database, and they have used big data and Hadoop are using this. And like second one is HBase. So HBase data, NoSQL database have been used by Facebook, and they are using column database. And the third one is MongoDB. So MongoDB is like, we have already have a basic introduction about this. This is one of the NoSQL database, and this is a document-based database. Another fourth one is Bigtable. So Bigtable is like brain of the Google. We can say like this is the brain of Google, and here also they are using a column database. And Dynamo, this is a cloud AWS, and the values are storing in a form of key value pairs. And the sixth one is Couch database. This is also one of big data they are using, and values are stored in a form of a document base. And the last and final one is Cosmos. This is a NoSQL Azure kind of database. And next we can see what is MongoDB. So already the New York based company called Tengen, they have made a MongoDB open source to the market. Already we have studied. So the same way we can say MongoDB is an open source database, and this is a document oriented data model. And the main thing is it is non-structured query language. So what is non-structured query language? So in SQL, when you're going to create a table, we need to define the structure and basic constraint. But in MongoDB, so the word itself, we can say it is a non-structured. Yes, so we no need to define any structure to our MongoDB. So whatever we can insert 2 columns in one collection, and the next document we can insert 3. So nothing. It is a non-structured query language, and it is one of the most powerful NoSQL system and database around today in our market. So it is like flexible, and it is scalability and strong consistency. So these are the main key points why we are saying that MongoDB is the most powerful NoSQL database. So in the beginning itself, we have seen MongoDB documents are stored in a form of JSON. JavaScript object notation, and here the data will be stored in a form of key value pairs. So JSON is nothing but an object nested like key value pairs. So you want to study more about JSON, I have given the link in the bottom of the slide you can use, and you can know more about JSON, and you can see more example. So BSON is nothing but it's a serialized format encoding form of JSON. So JSON it is used for mainly storing and accessing document, and whereas JSON, it is a human readable standard file. So this is the main difference. So BSON is not a serialized format, encoding format of JSON, and it is lightweight, we can easily traverse, and it is efficient for encoding and decoding. So when the human want to read, we can easily decode, and we want to protect our files and protect our data, we can easily decode. So this is, and we want to know more about BSON, I have given a link at the bottom of the slide, and you can explore what and all the basic examples of JSON and BSON. So next we are going to see about architecture. So whatever the technology we have learned, so there will be some basic building block of that. So that is what we are going to see now. So MongoDB, for sure we will have one server, and in that server we have some data. So that is the data we are going to use in a MongoDB. And what we are going to do, we are going to store our data in a bunch of collections. So collection is nothing but the table, and it is our repository to store all our documents. And the document will be in a form of binary form of JSON. Okay, so this is a basic building block. So we can say inside the collection we will have an n number of documents. So we can't store Excel, PDF or XML. Only JSON form of documents will be stored inside our repository. So you may think, why not XML? Why not PDF or like Word? So we need to keep in mind, if we store XML type of documents, it will be difficult for us to read, or if we need to access some data, we need to retrieve, we need to change. So if we store in a form of XML, for sure it is difficult for us to take. So that is the reason MongoDB has this basic quality, storing a data in a form of JSON format, and it is supported in all types of data types. We can store integer, you can store string, you can store character, double, n number of database. It is supported for all, and it is a lightweight, one of the lightweight database. So why MongoDB? So at the beginning itself, we have seen the MongoDB is a document oriented. So since it is a NoSQL database, so instead of storing our data in a relational format, we are storing it in a document, so that it will be very flexible for us to retrieve uh, in a real-time examples, real-time scenarios. So we are using this in a business sector. So for them, it is like very flexible and adoptable for them. So that is why it is a document oriented. And second one is ad hoc queries. So in a real time, it is aggregation, and it is powerful to access and analyze a data. So it is like it is also support searching by what are the fields we have, and we can set a range and we can search. And for regular expressions, with the help of regular expressions also we can search a data, and then we can return the specific field into a document. So it is one of the main advantage. We can easily search our data inside our documents. And third one is indexing. So it improves the performance of searching. Like we have a bunch of we have more than 10,000 number of lines inside a document. So if it is, you may think how we can search in a 10,000 line of it may take time or it is difficult. So you don't need to worry if you are using a MongoDB as a database. So we have a special concept called indexing. So it will improve our performance search, and every field inside the document we can index the document. And replication. So replication means like inside a document, so in it will automatically assign, if we store some particular data in a document, so it will automatically set primary replica and secondary replica. So um, our server may get down at one point of time. So at that time, all our data will be stored in primary. So if that or primary also failed in one point of time, it is we'll have a MongoDB makes a backup for a secondary replica set. So we can take all our data from the secondary replica set. So it is one of the interesting factor in MongoDB. And finally, we have load balancing. So MongoDB have multiple servers. So in some point of time, some hardware may got failure. So we may think we need to take a backup for all the data. So in MongoDB, we don't want to take a backup. So this load balancing will automatically forms a duplicate set of data, and when the hardware fails, the duplicate data will plays the important role, and it may brings all the data back. So it is one of the main key points. So this is why we need to use MongoDB. We have document oriented, adopt queries, we have indexing and replication and load balancing as well. So then next, key components of MongoDB architecture. So in SQL, we may have a primary ID. So what is primary ID? Primary key. So it is unique and it is used to join the two table. So in MongoDB as well, we have a primary key underscore ID. So this is an example of that object underscore ID, and it is n number of letters. So second one is collection. So what is meant by collection? We have already seen table is nothing but the collection. So group of database documents. If we have a group of documents, it is called as collection. So this collection will exist in a single database. N number of collection will exist in a single database, and no schema is required in our collection. We can design our own schema in our own whatever way we need to design a schema, we can design, but there is no restrictions of schema in this. So the third one is cursor. So if we have one document, at the end of that, if we write one query, we need a result. So the result, we need to we have a cursor. The cursor will retrieve the result from that query. So it is nothing but a result set of query. And the third one is database. So database is nothing but the physical container where we can have a files, a document, so etc. So MongoDB, n number of database we have, it will all exist in one particular server. And the fourth one is a document. So document is like we have a fields, name and value. So that is the document. So what does mean by field? So field is a name value pair in a document. So you can see the example which I have given in the slide. Customer ID is a key and 11 is a value. Customer name is again a key and Guru 99 is a value. Order ID is a key and 111 is the value. So this is one of the simple example of key value pairs. So this is the way we will insert our data inside the document in the collection in MongoDB. And we can see what are the advantages. So first and foremost, main advantages is open source. And we open source we can also understood, so we can download a MongoDB and we can install in a local machine, and it is open to all. We can use. And it is a second one is a document based, and it is schema less, and it is faster time executing of queries. If we have 1,000 or more lines, it will execute faster, and no SQL injection. So these are the advantages of MongoDB. So next we can go to how to install and configure a MongoDB in our local machine. So I have given on link. So in that link, you can download MongoDB MSI installer package. So I have put some an image of that particular view. You need to go to server and you need to select what is the OS you are using. So if it is a Windows, if it is a Linux or Windows 10, Windows 7, whatever, and you need to check what is the operating system. It is a 64-byte or 32-bit. You need to specify that also. And in package, you need to select MSI, and then you can download. So once download, it will in the download you need to double click and run. Once you click on run, you will get the step 2. You need to click on next. After that, the third step, you need to accept the license, and then you need to click on next. And in step 4, you will be able to see two boxes, complete and custom. So we are going to install it locally, so we can give on complete. The custom is like for advanced users. So like if we are going to use in a big retail market, or like one of the sectors, public sectors, then we can click select custom. So we are not going to do all that. So we need to install it locally on our machine. You can select complete. So step 5, we are going to install MongoDB as a service. So we need to check that box. And the one of important thing in the installation is you can able to see in step 5 image, there is a path called data directory. So you need to make note of this path. So this is the path where a MongoDB is going to install in a local machine. So you need to make a note of this path. This is very important step. And step 6, so once everything is done, you'll be able, we need to install MongoDB Compass. This image will come. You need to uncheck the box. So we are not going to install MongoDB Compass. We are going to install only a MongoDB. So we need to deselect that box and then click on next. So once done, the MongoDB is set up. You need to click on finish button. And after that, we need to create two folders inside our local local disk C. So data, and inside data, we need to create DB. So why we are creating this folder? So we in once our MongoDB is set up in a local machine, we'll be working with various queries or various commands. We will be executing n number of commands. So we may get error at one point of time. So if we want a log of that, what is the error exactly, so everything will be stored inside db path. So that is why we are creating a separate folder for a mongodb to store our queries and our log files. All our log files will be stored under a db path, so we need to create that. After that, we need to open a command prompt as an administrator. So to start our server, we need to type run mongodb. So once when you type mongodb, server will start. You can see the image I have given. So it will come like mongodb starting. Server is listening at 2027 or like whatever port your machine is configured. So that port you may able to see. After that, you can think a server gets starts. And then next, we need to open another command prompt as the administrator, and we need to enter Mongo. So this is our MongoDB terminal. So once you enter Mongo, it will go inside the shell, and you can use whatever commands, whatever query we need to execute, we can execute in the path. So this is all about installation and configuration of MongoDB. Next is we are going to see about CRUD operations. So in CRUD operations, we need to know how to create a database, or else how we can use our existing database. So there is a simple command. We can type db. So just type db. You can you may able to know what are the database you're currently inside in Mongo. So just type db. I have given example screenshot of my terminal is like we are in test database, and you how to list our database inside our Mongo. Like just type show database. So once you type that show databases command, you may able to see what all the databases are in our MongoDB server. You can see admin, config, local. So you can able to switch to the one database to another database as well. If you are using a local as of now, but you want to switch your database to admin, you can use admin. So if you type use admin, you may able to switch the database from local to admin as well. So next is, that is what I have done. You can able to go to the particular database using use and your DB name. So use local, it is switched to DB local. So that is what I have done. So next is creating database. So how we can create a database? So in SQL, we will create a table by using a command like create table. What are the steps? We will define a schema, we will define a primary key constraint, foreign key constraint, and the size of the data type, if it is a string, varchar, like that, all other stuff. But and it will be defined in a row column format. But in NoSQL database, our data will be stored in a form of a document and in a form of JSON key value pairs. So it is called as collections. You can see the example MongoDB. So ID is a primary key. So while creating a collection, we don't want to create a ID and all. So it will automatically create a primary key for each and every document. So that is one of the special thing in MongoDB. So next is how to create a collection. So there is a two ways to create a collection. So one is while inserting a data inside our document, it will automatically create a collection. So we can see how. So DB, my collection is the name which we going to give. Whatever name you want to name for your collection, you can give. So DB, the collection name, and insert. As of now, I'm inserting a three values: name, age, and location. So we don't want to put as extra effort to create a collection. While inserting itself, it will automatically create a collection in our database. So the second one is creating a non-capped collection. So how to create non-capped collection? So DB create collection is a key, and my collection is the my name of the collection. Whatever collection we want to create, we can create. So once after creating the collection, we can insert. So this is a one way. And the third one is there is a capped collection. So capped collection is nothing but we will define the size, max size of our collection. If we define two, only two documents we will be able to insert. Whatever the size we are defining, so that much size only we will be able to insert inside our documents. And we need to specify capped true. So if we, that is the main thing while creating a capped collection, we need to mention capped true. So that is all about collection. One is while inserting itself, it will automatically create a collection, or otherwise either using capped or non-capped, we can create a collection and then we can insert the documents inside our database. And the next one is, so this is what I have done. So capped collection is a fixed size collection, so that insert and retrieve document will be easier in capped collection, and the insertion will be in a form of first in and first out. Document will maintain this throughout. When you have created a capped collection, this is how the document get inserted, and this is how the document we will able to retrieve. They are using FIFO, first in first out. And one more thing, once a collection is filled the allocated space, so it will make a room for the next document and it will keep on overwriting. So this is one of the main thing in capped collection, and this we can say this is one of the main advantage of a capped collection. And one more thing we can also able to do is like, if we have created uncapped collection, but in future I need to convert that to cap. So for example, I need to have only 100 document inside my collection. If I insert 101, I was not able to insert. So in that point of time, we can convert our non-capped to capped. So here is the syntax. So db.run command convert to cap. We need to give our collection name, and we can specify the size of the document whatever we are going to insert. So this is all about creating collection. And the third one is how we need to insert a data. So we can insert data into a new collection, or else we can create a whatever collection we have created before, we can also insert a data in that also. So this is like a basic structure how we need to insert the data. We can insert as a key value pairs, we can insert as an array of strings, and we can insert as a objects or array of object. So the in the particular screenshot I have given the explanation what is array of strings, how the object will look, how the array of object will look. So this is one of the basic structure how the data will look inside our document, or else how we need to insert data into our document. So in inserting also we have three methods in MongoDB. So first one is insert one. If we use insert one, we will be able to insert only a single document into our collection. If we use insert many, more than one document will get insert. So if you're not use insert many or insert one, just insert, we can use as much as document we want to insert. So we can see the example of one by one. So first one is insert one. So this is a syntax for insert one. So db.mycollection.insert1, I have given two field, name and age. So here we are using an insert one. So only one document will be get inserted in our collection in a form of key value pairs. So second one is insert many. So insert many, like we can insert as much as the data in our document. So here I have given two data in our document. So first one is name and age, and the second one is name, age, location, and third one is name and age. So you can see here, uh, in the first document, I have mentioned name and age. In the second as well as a name and age. But in the third, I have introduced a new field called location. So this is what I have previously mentioned. So it is a non-structured query language. So whenever you want to introduce a new field into the particular table collection, you can introduce. So first two documents only have name and age field, but the third document, I have introduced a new field called location, so that we can easily, we can structure our own schema. So this is one of the main advantage, and this is called scalability. So this is the main advantage of MongoDB. So after inserting, you want to know whether it get inserted or not. So this is how we will get a result. Write result inserted one. So I have inserted a one document, so I'm getting a result as one. So if you're inserting n number of document using insert many, you will get the count as per as you insert. So this is all about insert. Now we are going to see about query data. So how we can query all the data from our collection. So in SQL, you all know about a command called select star from collection. So that is like we will be able to view our entire table, what all the document we have inserted in a form of rows and columns. We will be able to see the same thing in MongoDB as well as db.mycollectionname.find. So this will uh, retrieve all the collections in our documents. So all the documents in our collection will be able to view. So I have given you some screenshot in the slide. So db.collection.mine, so it will retrieve what all the documents we have inserted before. It will retrieve that, and it will show. So I have already mentioned it is stored in a form of JSON. If we want to view in a cleaner manner, just use db.collection.find.pretty. So it will display in the form of JSON format. You can see I have given a command called db.collection.find.pretty. So how it will display, like in a form of a JSON format. So it will be cleaner to view the document in a collection. What are the field we have given in one document, and in the next document what are the fields available, we will be able to view in a cleaner way. So this is a one method. And next is, so already in the previous example you will seen that underscore id. So underscore id I have already mentioned, it will create automatically when you insert a document inside the collection. It is like a primary field. So if you don't want to see that underscore id, you can mention like db.mycollection.find underscore id will be, you need to set that underscore id to 0. If you queried like this, you will not be able to see that field in our collection. So this is one of the main key advantage in querying a document. So like, if we need to find our document with the help of a specific field, suppose I need to get a document who and all named as John. So that particular result alone I need. So it is like a filtering. So we can also query db.mycollection.find where name is John. So in SQL, this query will be equivalent to select star from table where name equal to John. That this is the same query in the way we are using in MongoDB. We can see the result. So what field John alone will be retrieved from the entire document and it will give the result. So this is how querying a document. So next we are going to see about update methods. So we have 4 update methods: update one, update many, replace one, and update. So update one is like it will update a single document based on the specific filter. So if we like, I need to update a particular field like John, age to 50, it will update only the first document which is been shown in entire collection. It will update that particular document alone. In if we use update many, so it will update what are the documents named John in that entire collection. It will update all the thing based on the filter. So it's the same thing, replace one. So it will only replace only one document based on the filter, and it will match, and it will change to only one document. So db.collection.update will do like what are the filter condition, matching condition we have given in our query. It will do accordingly, either one document or either many document. So this is how update works. So you can see a simple example for updating documents. So db.collection.update, I'm going to update age 20 to age 23. So I have given update. So I have not mentioned anything, update one or update many. So what this query will do, it will go into that particular collection and it will pick all the documents who and all having age 20 and it will change to 23. This is how this update command will works. If you give update one, it will take a very first document whichever it's seen and it will change to age 23. If you give update many, so it will take what all the documents will have age 20 and it will change all the documents to age 23. So this is all about today's session. So in the next class we can see how to delete a document and some of the practical examples. So if you have any doubt in this particular session, you can write to the info@uplets.com. So this is all about today's session. Thank you and see you on my next session. Thank you all.